What if I told you that the Arctic is not just ice? What if beneath that endless frozen desert, something ancient has been waiting, patient, silent, alive? And what if the key to waking it was something so small, so harmless, that no one questioned it? Grass. Scientists thought they had discovered a way to save the Arctic. But what they actually did was unleash it. Stay with me, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about the frozen North and about the future of our world. If you are ready to step into the unknown, then watch this story till the very end. And do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more chilling tales, and share this with someone who dares to ask, what if grass could save the Arctic? What if grass could save the Arctic? The air was sharp, like shattered glass biting against the skin. Frost stretched endlessly, a frozen desert under a pale blue sky. Dr. Alara Hayes pressed her boots deep into the crunching ice, her breath fogging in heavy bursts. The silence was thick, broken only by the hollow groan of shifting glaciers. She had read the theories. Grass, ordinary blades of green, planted across the Arctic, capable of trapping heat, shielding permafrost, and bending the future of the planet. It sounded absurd, but as she stood there, overlooking the barren tundra, she saw it. A stretch of impossible green, cutting through the white. It shimmered under the sun, alive, thriving, as if it did not belong in this world. Alara stepped closer, her gloved hand trembling as she reached for a blade. Warmth. Not the weak warmth of sun on snow. It pulsed, alive, as if the grass carried a heartbeat. Her chest tightened. The Arctic wind howled louder, swirling around her, tugging at her coat, urging her to leave. But her curiosity was stronger. She knelt, pressing her ear close to the earth. A hum vibrated beneath the soil. Not wind, not ice, something else. Her pupils widened. The sound was rhythmic, almost mechanical, like a giant engine buried deep below the frozen ground. She staggered back, heart hammering, eyes scanning the horizon. And then she noticed the snow around the grass was melting in uneven circles, as if something vast and hidden was breathing beneath her feet. The silence broke. A crack echoed, sharp and violent, splitting across the tundra. The ground trembled. Alara's body froze, every instinct screaming at her. The Arctic was no longer silent. It was awake. The crack widened, snaking across the ice like a black scar. Alara stumbled backward, snow spraying around her boots. The humming grew louder, pressing against her eardrums until it felt like her skull would split. She clutched her head, teeth grinding, her breath breaking in sharp gasps. The green patch of grass swayed violently, though there was no wind touching it. It moved on its own, twisting, curling, as if trying to reach her. She tried to run, but her legs felt heavy, the air around her thickening. Her chest burned with each breath. The earth shuddered again, stronger this time. A section of ice collapsed nearby, plunging into a hidden crevasse. From the darkness below, a glowing light surged upward. Green, the same unnatural green as the grass. Alara's eyes widened as she saw shapes inside the glow, roots, massive and writhing, stretching like veins through the frozen ground. They pulsed with that same heartbeat. Thud, thud, thud. Each pulse made the ground quake beneath her boots. The realization struck her like ice water. This was not grass. It was something older, something buried. And now, it was waking up that Alara's pulse raced, sinking with the pounding rhythm beneath the ice. The roots surged upward, cracking through the permafrost like skeletal fingers clawing toward the surface. The grass patch spread in seconds, stretching outward in a widening circle of green. Snow hissed as it melted, steam curling into the frozen air. Alara stumbled back, her boots slipping on wet ice. She could not look away. The ground buckled. A massive root tore free. Thick as a tree trunk, its surface slick and glistening with frost. It twitched, alive, pulsing with light that made her skin prickle. Alara raised her radio, voice shaking as she called for base camp. Only static answered. The hum roared louder, shaking the metal clip of her pack, rattling in her teeth. She dropped the radio, clutching her chest as the air grew heavy, too warm, suffocating in the heart of the Arctic. The green light flared, blinding. Through squinted eyes, she saw movement inside it, shadows twisting, shifting, almost human, almost not. Her breath caught. For a moment, she thought she heard whispers carried in the wind, words she could not understand. Her knees weakened. The Arctic was no longer frozen silence. It was alive, and it wanted her to hear it. Alera's breath came in short, ragged bursts. Her ears strained, desperate to catch the whispers. They were layered, thousands of voices overlapping, rising and falling like a chorus beneath the ground. She pressed her palms to her ears, but the sound only grew louder, pressing inside her skull. The roots quivered, curling upward, swaying in eerie unison with the rhythm of the voices. One root slammed into the ice, inches from her boots, sending shards spraying into the air. She staggered back, slipping onto the frozen ground, her hands stinging from the impact. The whispers shifted. They were no longer meaningless. They formed words. Clear, terrifying. We have waited. Alera's heart skipped. Her throat tightened, too dry to form a reply. The light pulsed brighter, casting her shadow long and distorted across the snow. We remember. The voices seemed to come from everywhere, above, below, inside her head. Her eyes darted across the tundra. The patch of grass was no longer a patch. It was spreading outward, crawling across the ice like wildfire, blades glowing with that unnatural green. Her mind reeled. If it reached further, if it spread, unchecked, the Arctic would not freeze again. It would change. She scrambled to her feet, boots slipping, heart pounding with one desperate thought. She had to get away before the Arctic swallowed her whole. Alera ran. Her breath tore through the frozen air, each gasp a stab of fire in her chest. Behind her, the sound of cracking ice chased like footsteps too large, too heavy to belong to anything human. She dare not look back, but the light followed, spilling across the snow, painting the white world in sickly green. Her boots struck soft patches where ice had melted into slush. Each step sank deeper, slowing her escape. The whispers swelled, louder now, no longer distant. Do not run. Her blood froze. The voice was inside her skull, not echoing but embedded, pulsing with her heartbeat. She clutched her head, stumbling forward, tears stinging her eyes. The roots burst from the ground again, snapping upward in violent arcs, blocking her path. Steam hissed from the ruptured earth, fogging her vision. Alera turned, desperate for any escape, but every direction was the same. The glowing grass spreading, devouring the tundra in ripples of unnatural green. The hum deepened into a roar, vibrating through her bones. The ice beneath her split wide, and a chasm yawned open. From the depths, something vast began to rise. Not plant, not machine, a fusion of both. Its surface writhed with veins of glowing roots, its shape too immense to comprehend. And yet, through the roar, the light, the terror, Alera felt one undeniable truth. The Arctic was no longer dying. It was being reborn, and humanity was not meant to survive its new order. Alera teetered at the edge of the chasm, the ground trembling beneath her boots. The thing rising from the ice loomed higher, its surface glistening with frost and roots that pulsed like living veins. The whispers grew into a single voice, deep and commanding. You open the ground. Now you will see. Her breath shattered in her throat. She stumbled back, nearly falling into the abyss as the creature's mass tore free from the frozen earth. It towered above her, a mountain of living grass and metal, its shape shifting, never still. Green light bled into the sky, staining the clouds like a spreading infection. Alera's radio crackled suddenly at her feet. Through the static, a voice shouted, "Dr. Hayes, we see it. My God, what is happening out there?" Her hands trembled as she grabbed it, pressing it close. "Shut down the project," she gasped. "Do not plant more. Do not." The ground lurched, cutting her words short. The chasm split wider, swallowing snowmobiles, tents, entire sections of the research station. Screams echoed faintly through the static. Alara's throat went dry. This was not just under her feet. It was everywhere. The Arctic itself was tearing open, and what lay beneath was not finished waking. The ground heaved again, tossing Alara to her knees. The creature's roots whipped outward, slicing through the ice like blades, spreading across the tundra faster than fire. Her radio screamed with overlapping voices, panicked scientists, soldiers, commanders. None of them had answers, only fear. The green glow bled into the sky, turning the Arctic horizon into a pulsing aurora. But it was not beautiful. It was suffocating. Alara rose, staggering toward a ridge, desperate for higher ground. Her boots slipped, her breath rasped, but she climbed until the wind howled around her. From the top, her stomach dropped. The landscape was no longer white. For miles, the tundra glowed with patches of spreading grass, each one alive, each one pulsing in rhythm with a monstrous form that had broken free from the chasm. Her mind reeled. This was not a single awakening. It was an invasion, and humanity had triggered it by planting the first seeds. The whispers surged back, stronger now, filling her skull until she cried out. You thought you could save the Arctic, but the Arctic will save itself. Her vision blurred, the green light stabbing into her eyes until tears streamed down her face. And then, in the distance, she saw the impossible. Another fissure opened, then another, and another. Across the endless horizon, shapes began to rise from the ice, all glowing with that same heartbeat, all awakening at once. The Arctic was not dying. It was beginning, and Alara was standing at the edge of the world that humanity no longer owned. Alara's breath came in ragged bursts as she clung to the ridge. The horizon rippled with spreading green, a living tide advancing across the ice. The voices had grown too many, a thunderous chorus shaking her skull. She pressed her hands against her ears, but the sound was inside her, echoing through bone and blood. Below, the research base was gone, swallowed whole. Only the glow remained, stretching outward in waves. Her radio buzzed again, fractured voices breaking through static. Dr. Hayes' satellite feed just came in. The phenomenon is not isolated. Do you understand? It is not isolated. Alara froze. Her heart hammered. The voice on the radio continued, trembling, frantic. It is spreading across Greenland, Iceland, Siberia. The seeds are everywhere. Alara staggered back from the ridge, knees buckling. The truth struck her with a force stronger than the wind. This was not an accident. The project had been global. The seeds had been planted years ago, scattered in test sites across the poles, left dormant beneath the ice. Now, they were all waking together. The sky above flickered, clouds glowing green as the light bled upward, blotting out the stars. The whispers sharpened into words again, countless voices speaking as one. The frost kept us silent. The heat gave us life. Alara fell to her knees, her fingers digging into the frozen ground. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from the crushing realization. The Arctic had never needed saving. It had been waiting, and now, the world was nothing more than fertile ground that Alara's nails scraped against the ice as she tried to steady herself. Her breath rattled, her chest heaving with each gasp. The voices no longer whispered. They roared. They filled the air like a storm, vibrating through the ground, rattling her teeth until she thought they might shatter. From the ridge, she saw the impossible spread beyond the tundra. The ocean, the dark waters along the coast churned as glowing roots spilled downward, sinking into the waves, twisting like serpents beneath the surface. Green light shimmered under the black water, stretching further and further out to sea. Her radio crackled again, voices overlapping, panicked, broken. Ships trapped in the ice. No, not ice. Something is moving under them. Coastal cities reporting green tide. It is not grass, it is not. The transmission ended in static. Alara's hands shook as she gripped the device. Her throat was raw, but she forced out a whisper. Someone has to stop it. The ground split beneath her, the ridge crumbling into the glowing chasm. She barely scrambled back as roots lashed upward, searching, reaching. Her boots slipped, her body pitched forward, but she caught herself against a jagged slab of ice. The light below flared brighter, and then, for the first time, she saw its face. Not human, not animal. A vast form of woven roots and bone-like ridges, eyes glowing with cold intelligence, rising higher from the abyss. The voices hushed into silence. One single thought burned through her mind. The Arctic was not being reborn. It was taking back what had always been its own. Illyria could not move. Her body locked as the face rose higher, roots twisting into the shape of jaws, of eyes, of something ancient and deliberate. Its gaze fixed on her, not with curiosity, with recognition. The silence pressed down, heavier than the Arctic wind, heavier than the ice itself. Her lungs burned as she forced a breath. The radio slipped from her hand, clattering against the ice. The creature's massive form leaned closer, its glowing eyes narrowing. The voices returned, but now they were clear, singular, and deafening. "You carried our seed." Illyria's stomach lurched. Her mind raced back to the beginning of the project, to the research crates flown in from overseas, to the tiny packets of engineered grass. They had believed it was science, but the seeds had not been created. They had been released. Her throat went dry. The realization carved itself into her mind like a blade. Humanity had not discovered a way to save the Arctic. It had only unearthed what the Arctic had buried. The roots shifted again, curling around the ridge, tightening, encircling her like a cage. The creature's voice sank into her bones, calm and final. "We remember the world before your kind. Now you will remember us." The ground shuddered violently, cracks tearing outward across the ice plain, racing toward the horizon. From those fissures, more shapes began to rise. Not one, not two, thousands. The Arctic was no longer a place of silence and frost. It was a battlefield of rebirth, and Illyria was standing in the center of the first awakening. Illyria could not move. Her body locked as the face rose higher, roots twisting into the shape of jaws, of eyes, of something ancient and deliberate. Its gaze fixed on her, not with curiosity, with recognition. The silence pressed down, heavier than the Arctic wind, heavier than the ice itself. Her lungs burned as she forced a breath. The radio slipped from her hand, clattering against the ice. The creature's massive form leaned closer, its glowing eyes narrowing. The voices returned, but now they were clear, singular, and deafening. "You carried our seed." Illyria's stomach lurched. Her mind raced back to the beginning of the project, to the research crates flown in from overseas, to the tiny packets of engineered grass. They had believed it was science, but the seeds had not been created. They had been released. Her throat went dry. The realization carved itself into her mind like a blade. Humanity had not discovered a way to save the Arctic. It had only unearthed what the Arctic had buried. The roots shifted again, curling around the ridge, tightening, encircling her like a cage. The creature's voice sank into her bones, calm and final. "We remember the world before your kind. Now you will remember us." The ground shuddered violently, cracks tearing outward across the ice plain, racing toward the horizon. From those fissures, more shapes began to rise. Not one, not two, thousands. The Arctic was no longer a place of silence and frost. It was a battlefield of rebirth, and Illyria was standing in the center of the first awakening. Illyria stood motionless on the ridge, her body trembling, her breath shallow in the heavy air. The glowing horizon stretched endlessly, no longer white, no longer frozen. The Arctic had transformed into a living ocean of green, its pulse steady, eternal. The voices grew quieter, no longer roaring, but whispering like a lullaby that seeped into her bones. The frost has ended. The seed has returned. Illyria's eyes blurred with tears as she looked out across the vastness. There was no science left to explain it, no report to write, no message to send, only the truth carved into the land itself. The Arctic had awakened, and humanity's chapter in this place was over. She closed her eyes, letting the whispers wash through her. For the first time, she did not fight them. The ridge trembled one last time, and the roots drew tighter around her, pulling her gently toward the light. Her final breath left her lips as the hum deepened, not in rage, but in acceptance. The world would change. The world had already changed, and above the endless glow of green, the Arctic sky closed in silence.